What's going on, guys? This is Waylon Martin with Bodybuilding.news, bringing you another wrap-up of this weekend's contest from Toronto, Canada. A Tier 4 competition, the Toronto Pro is competitive as always. Though the lineup's pretty mixed up because a lot of US professionals aren't allowed to travel into the past the Canadian border due to their laws against felonies and whatnot. After two close finishes in the second place spot, DeAsha finally got a win coming out of Toronto. It was here that he came out in the first place spot, bringing an awesome package of both fullness and condition, which is very unexpected for someone so new to competing, going against seasoned competitors. As mentioned in our previous wrap-ups, Nathan has awesome potential going into the future, and scarily, this could be just the beginning of his illustrious bodybuilding career. Though he's still only a rookie professional, Nathan looked like a tried and true pro here at this contest in Toronto. This was because he was both dry, full, and conditioned, a combination that's very hard to achieve even for the top tier of pros, and possibly indicates that Nathan could potentially break into that top 10 at the Olympia stage. Maybe not, but maybe so. Though they were both pulled from the first call out to be directly compared to one another, there was a significant gap between first place finisher Nathan DeAsha and second place runner-up Maxx. Though Maxx was very impressive at this contest and has continued to make improvements as a professional, the two were in two different leagues, and one demonstrated what a top 10 Olympic competitor has a potential to look like and what your average top of the tier 3, tier 4 professional looks like. Maxx was Maxx at this show, and the flaws that everyone's critiqued him for in the past were the same ones that he brought here. Of course, his legs were a little bit different from the rest of his physique, his arms were a little bit oversized, and he didn't have as much of a flow and pop as Nathan DeAsha, but he did have a freak factor and conditioning to match it, which is impressive nonetheless. The third place was Fouad Abiad, who has always looked like a tried and true professional as well, bringing his standard condition and fullness. Though Fouad doesn't have the genetics necessarily to beat the two guys in front of him, he definitely looks like a professional in every definition of the term. With this finish, Fouad's just short of qualifying for the Olympia, so I imagine we're going to see him compete yet again later in the year. A surprise finish of sorts was fellow Canadian Ben Pakulski, who came in fourth place. Ben has had recent struggles as of late after he came to a peak of sorts at his second place finish at the Arnold Classic. That finish at the Arnold Classic was an opportunity at a relatively weak show, and Ben seized it. Shortly thereafter, though, he seemed to struggle, not placing as well at the following contest. This contest, however, though, puts Ben back at relatively positive momentum. Similar to Fouad, I imagine we're going to see Pakulski again as we get closer and closer to the Olympia. As with Maxx, the same issues Ben's brought in the past, he brought to this contest. You can't defeat a poor structure and some issues with the mechanics of your physique. Well, he brought relatively good condition. Condition doesn't determine contests entirely, and so it is a factor that should be rewarded, but it shouldn't be the deciding factor, and that was proven here. Fifth place, Jon Delarosa. After his relatively disappointing finish at the Arnold, South Africa, this was a moderately positive increase in the momentum for Jon Delarosa. However, it's not a finish in first place as I'd imagine he'd desire, which, based off his previous history, shouldn't necessarily be unexpected anymore. So this is a win of some ways and a disappointment of others. With such short time in between shows, it was arguable that Jon was a little bit softer and less dry than he was in South Africa. However, he arguably should have placed where he did at this contest as well. Of note, in his second season competing as a professional was Ian Valliere, who came in 7th place. In only his second season competing, Ian looks like a seasoned competitor at this point and is going to do damage eventually in the IFBB professional ranks. Strided head to toe with freaky separation, he has a very bright future in the IFBB. And though he might not get the props he deserves at this contest, I'm sure he's going to continue to test himself in the IFBB professional rings.